Welcome to this episode of The Martial Truth. In this episode, we're going to talk about women training in the dojo, women related to self-defense, and a range of topics involving women and training and women in self-defense, and as instructors, the difference between training women and training men. Okay. So in my school in New York, I had a lot of female students. A lot of women students. In Arizona here, I have more female students than I have male students. And I think a big part of it is I run a professional dojo. The women are treated with respect. I treat everyone with respect, and I expect everyone that teaches in my school to treat people with respect. And I think they read that right away, and they feel very comfortable training. Several of my female students have traveled with us, whether it be to Japan or China. Had a great time. Again, that mutual respect, the purpose of having a mutual goal of training in martial arts and getting better, I think is very important. Some people have met in my dojo and have gotten married, and that's great. But that's few and far between. As a general rule, the instructors know they're there to teach martial arts and treat people in a certain way. So having said that, women training. Okay, from a pure self-defense standpoint, obviously there's no greater self-defense tool for women than the gun. Right now, all stats show that the largest new gun owners in this country are women, okay? And there's a reason for that. The gun can definitely be a great equalizer in terms of a woman being able to protect herself. I know when we moved out here to Arizona, one of the first things my wife did was she went and got her concealed carry permit, took a course. She went to some training. I obviously helped training too, went shooting, and my wife pretty much carries a firearm for the most part whenever she goes out now. And again, it's something that women need to realize if they really want to protect themselves. That's obviously the best. But let's talk about the weapon. For years, I did some women's self-defense classes, which frankly, I'm not a huge fan of. I think they give women a false sense of security in thinking, well, now I took a self-defense class, and if some predator attacks me, I'll know what to do. It's not as easy as that. Unless you're training on a fairly regular basis, you're going to have a difficult time. I mean, we have to realize women are not, in general, there are exceptions, but in general, women are not as physically strong as a male. Okay, so we need to be honest. Again, this is called the martial truth, and that's just a fact of life. Okay, women are great at dealing with pain. Obviously, it comes from the pain of childbirth, right? Which a lot of men maybe aren't as good as dealing with pain as a woman is, right? So it's important that women understand that they need to train in a way to utilize the abilities they have in a proper way. So, I would ask women at a women's self-defense class, how many of you carry a weapon? And a bunch of hands would go up. Okay, what do you carry? Well, I would put my keys between my fingers and I'd punch them with my keys. Okay. I carry hairspray, I'd spray them in the eyes. Okay. I carry a knife. So then I would ask that woman, so you carry a knife? And she would say, yeah. And I'd say, so you know that you're physically capable of taking that knife and plunging it into the body of a no human being. And every single time, the woman looked at me like I was crazy and said something to the effect of, well, no, but I'm going to scare him with it. I'm going to scare him with it, and then he's going to back off. And then I had to inform that woman that's probably what's going to happen is he's going to take that knife away from you, and he's going to use it on you, okay? So if you're carrying a weapon and you're not willing to use it and you really don't know whether or not you can use it, I would recommend not carrying that weapon because that weapon's going to be used on you, okay? Mace, great thing, right? Again, Firearm, great thing. Knife, great thing if you're willing to use it. But keep in mind, that's an up close and personal weapon. That means you're getting close to the opponent and you're going to have to physically cut them with that blade to make them stop the attack on you. Okay? But again, if you know you can do that and you have knife training and you want to, that whatever works. Okay? So some things with women and self-defense. Women are in a unique situation that their primary attacker almost always is going to be a man. And that man, for the most part, is going to always assume that the woman is weaker than he is. Okay? And women need to accept that and not be like, well, I'm not weaker than his. No. You want the man to think he's stronger than you. You want him to think that you're a weakling because you're going to be able to use that against him in a real situation. So what I explain to my women students is that you must use the fact that the man believes he is stronger than you. The man believes you are weaker, and he will be able to easily handle you in a physical nature. In doing so, you use that to allow yourself to get close to him. And then when you get close, that's when you spring the trap. Right? Now the question is, what's the trap? Well, the trap has to be initially, you have to be willing to take your fingers and drive them into another human being's eyes. You have to be willing to do that. If you can't do that, you're going to have a problem. Surviving a real self-defense encounter with not being willing to do that is a huge issue. The other thing is you have to be willing to strike him in the throat. And strike him in the throat where you're looking to do serious damage. Okay? If you have to gouge his eyes out, you do that. If you have to use your teeth, you do that. If you have to use your fingernails, you do that. Once you dig in other words, once you initially move in and attack the male predator, you drive your fingers into his eyes and you get that initial reaction. You may be able to at that point turn around and run and get away, but maybe that's not the case. Okay, so now what do? Well, I drive in my fingers to his eyes. Now I proceed to follow up, striking into the throat, okay, maybe striking into the groin, and not stopping until the male predator is incapacitated. And what does incapacitated mean? Well, it means one of three things. He's no longer a threat, he's unconscious, or he's dead. Okay, there's no other options here, all right? And you need to realize that we're talking about a situation where maybe that male attacker, that male predator, is not looking to murder you, but maybe he's looking to rape you, okay? Maybe he's looking to rob you, all right? Maybe he's just looking to assault you, all right? So the question is what are you going to be willing to do to that aggressive male predator? And again, if right now you're watching this and you're a woman and you say to yourself, well, I'd be willing to do anything. Okay, well, are you really willing to do anything? Like, you really need to think about that and say, can I poke somebody in the eyes? Because if even the thought of that makes you a little bit squeamish, you have a problem. And that problem is you're going to have a difficult time surviving a real life situation where your life is possibly on the line. So, talk about other things, legal things. So you're a woman, you use self-defense, you take out the predator, okay? Legally, you're probably going to be in much better shape than a male. Because again, society looks and says, oh, the male attacked the woman, so she defended herself, and that's what he got, and he got what he deserved. Where if it's two men involved in a confrontation, a lot of times, sometimes society says, oh, well, why'd that guy have to be so aggressive? Why did that guy have to respond to that predator the way he did? Why couldn't he have been maybe a little... Whereas as a woman, you have the advantage in terms of that, in that people look and say, oh, well, it's a male, and the woman had to deal with the male, and she did what she had to do, and good for her, right? And so... that's good, And again, the thing to keep in mind is if you are in a situation and you have to seriously harm a predator, right? And in harming that predator, now the police get there. You're going to be all nervous and all whatever. Okay, so keep your mouth shut. Very simple response. If they're talking about arresting you, it's quite simple. I was attacked. He tried to harm me. He said he was going to rape me. He said he was going to kill me. He said he was going to take me to another location. As a woman, you can never go to another location. If you go to another location, chances are you're dead. Okay. So you need to accept that now, and you need to realize, okay, if someone's trying to drag me in the car, that's when the fight for your life begins and ends. And you have to do whatever you have to do, okay, to stop that person that's trying to take you into another location. And chances are, if you're taken to that location, we're never going to see you again. Okay, so it's important to understand that, important to realize. It's important for male martial arts instructors to know how to instruct women in these areas. Okay, a lot of martial arts instructors, they teach techniques, and they teach the same techniques to everybody, and they train everybody the same way. So in my now 45 years of training and a little over 40 years of teaching, I've had literally all kinds of students come through the dojo. So I've had the student come through the dojo that's physically not very strong. I've had the student come through the dojo that's tremendously strong. I've had the student come through the dojo that has a pretty serious handicap. Okay, could have been an amputee who only had one leg. Okay, so am I training that person the same way I'm training the guy that has two good legs? No. Now what I have to do as the sensei, as the instructor, I have to figure out a way so this guy can move. I have to figure out a way so this guy can do things. And it's the same with women. My first instructor used to always say, well, for a woman to make black belt, she has to be as strong as a man. Okay. One of the dumbest statements I've ever heard a sensei make. Okay. Because let's think about that for a second. Is everybody that lines up in your martial arts school, are all the males equally strong? Or are some males stronger than the other males? Right? Some males are weaker than the other males. Okay. So what male does she have to be as strong as? Okay. It's just an incredibly dumb statement to make. And the first time I heard it, I thought it was ridiculous. I've promoted several women to black belt. Again, it wasn't about them being as strong as a man. It was about the journey they went on from when they first walked in the dojo till they made black belt. How much they improved their personal speed and power, right? Their personal technique, right? Not, well, is she as strong as the 225-pound guy down there? Ridiculous, okay? Totally a stupid way to think. And if you're a martial arts instructor and you're bowing in your classes and you have no women in your dojo that are training, you probably need to ask yourself a question. Why is that? All right. It's important as instructors that we realize that we may be taking an approach within the dojo that women come in and say, this isn't for me. Okay. My first instructor, I could tell you now that was pretty much the case every time a woman came into the school. Okay. Very few women lasted. Very few. Okay. And I always wondered why. And then as obviously I was there longer and I realized what he was really about, I realized this is not how I want my school to be. Okay. I know when I go to Japan, there's women training in the schools there, in the Sugino Dojo and Katori Shinto-ryu. There's plenty of women. One of the women is one of the most senior students there. Fantastic skill and ability. So I think sometimes we bring maybe a bias in terms of how we think we should teach, especially if maybe we came up in a dojo where it was all males, and now you're doing your dojo and same thing, you've got all males. You got to say to yourself, maybe I need to change here a little bit. Let's try a different approach. Okay. I know. I think it's good to have women in the dojo. I think they bring balance to the dojo. I think it makes people act better. I also think it's very important for women to train. I think it's important for young girls to train. I think women should learn self-defense and they should become proficient at it. Don't get me wrong, I think everybody should. Okay? I think if everybody was better at defending themselves, there'd be a lot less problems. All right? I can tell you here, living in a state now, Arizona, where it's extremely gun-friendly, I can tell you as a general rule, everybody is a lot nicer to everybody. Okay? And there's also less crime. And there's less crime because the criminals don't know who's carrying a firearm and who's not. And a lot of people in Arizona carry firearms. And for those people and watching this from other countries that, hear the talk in the media, guns are bad, gun owners are bad. Okay, here's a stat for you. Legal gun owners commit the smallest amount of crimes out of any major group. So to give you an idea, legal gun owners commit less crimes than police officers. Okay, so let that sink in. All right. So I remember there was a book called Bushido by Inazo Nitobe, where he talked about the seriousness of once he had to start carrying the sword during samurai times. And he went from a child who would act up and do all kinds of things to once he had to carry that sword every day, he realized, okay, I have to be a little more serious now. So people that carry a weapon seriously, whether it be a gun, a knife, or mace or anything, it's a huge responsibility. And those that take it serious realize what that responsibility is. So it's important to realize that. And again, it's important for women to train. And when they train, to take their training seriously. And you want to train in the dojo the way you would actually fight for real. So what I mean by that is if you're working on counters and you're never striking for your opponent's eyes, that's a problem. So now you're telling me, okay, no, but sensei, in a real fight, yeah, I'll 100% go for the eyes. Okay, but you're not doing that when you're training. Okay, are you striking for the throat? All right. There has to be a certain level of intensity. The woman has to realize, okay, if this is real, this is how I have to approach this. So I think, again, I think it's important as instructors that we figure out the way we can help women reach their full potential. And if you have certain ideas in your head, well, a woman has to be physically strong as a man. Well, a woman has to be as fast as a man. A woman has to be this. A woman has to be that. These are all ridiculous things because no two men are created equal, right? So as I've said before, when I trained under Master Shimabuku in Okinawa, one of the things he said was everyone is different. So you treat everyone different, all right? So again, having been involved in martial arts as long as I have, I've basically had every situation pop up in the dojo. Where it be, like I said, someone comes in with a handicap, someone this, someone that. Again, the other thing too is women have always been trained, usually from a young age, to be the more passive sex. And to be where, sugar and spice and everything nice, right? That's what we say about a woman. So now we're having to figure out a way to rewire and make the woman rethink certain things. And, I had one woman who joined my Tai Chi class in New York. And initially she was more totally about the health aspect of Tai Chi. And she really wasn't interested in it as a martial art. And she's been training with me now for almost 15 years. And after a couple of years, the martial became very important to her. And she realized it gave her a sense of power where she could handle herself now. And she liked that. She liked that feeling where I can actually, if I have to, I can defend myself. And recently she decided to also take up Kobudo and Katori Shinto-ryu. And she's also thinking about doing karate. So again, you may look and get into a certain martial art and say, well, I'm getting into that martial art. I want to lose weight. I'm getting into that martial art. I want to get my health in order, right? But again, the martial arts are for fighting. However, there's a component of health which is within the training and what we want. But if a woman is joining the dojo, we want to train her so she's able to physically protect herself. And again, we're not talking about Ronda Rousey here, right? Who's going to go out and fight in the octagon. I mean, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the woman who maybe that one time in her life needs martial arts to save her, save her children, okay? And we want it that she succeeds, all right? What I try to tell women is the mindset you want to bring is, if you have to fight a male predator, is what would you do to protect your child? Because most women are capable of doing pretty amazing things when it comes to protecting their children. That's that mindset, that mama bear mindset you want to bring in to dealing and facing a male predator. Okay. So again, let's just review some stuff. In general, men are physically stronger than women. Okay. Forget all the nonsense the media is trying to ram down your throat. Okay, it's just not the case. When it comes to physicality, men in general are much stronger than women. Okay, women need to have to use that man's idea that he's superior to you in strength and that you're the weakest sex. You need to focus on that and figure out how to use that against him. Okay, remember, overconfidence is as bad as no confidence at all. We are never letting anyone take us anywhere else. If you go someplace else, chances are we're never going to see you again. Okay? So this is vitally important. Okay? If you're going to carry a weapon, you better be willing to use it. If you're not willing to use it, chances are the predator is going to take that weapon away from you and use it against you. Okay? So, in the years of all the women I've had go through the dojo, we've had a few situations where women or teenage girls had to defend themselves. So I'll leave you with something that happened with my daughter. My daughter's been training karate since she's 4 years old. Okay, all my children trained. All right, she went off to college. So obviously in college she's not really training. Okay, but her freshman year she's with a group of people, and there's like 3 or 4 guys there, and there's some girls, and this one guy kept putting his hand on her. And she kept telling him, stop touching me. Now, when I was growing up, if I was one of the other guys standing there and I heard the girl say to a guy, stop touching me, I would tell the guy, hey, stop putting your hands on her. She told you she doesn't want you. But we live in a different time where a lot of the men, frankly, especially the younger men, they're quite soft, okay? And they're not really manly. And this is a huge problem. So rather than one of those men putting that guy in his place, they just stood there like scared rabbits, okay? And my daughter warned him a few times, and he kept touching her. And then she drove in a straight punch to his solar plexus and laid him out, where he was on his back with the wind knocked out of him and couldn't breathe. And then she looked at him and said, if you touch me again, I'm going to hurt you real bad. And everybody else there was like this. Right? Okay. Guess what? No more problems. She's graduating in May, and sent a clear message that, she can handle herself. All right? So it's important, I think, to prepare our daughters for life. And in life, there are going to be men that try to take advantage of a woman. And I think it's important that that woman is able to defend herself. Okay? Hope you're enjoying the podcast. Next time, we're going to talk about the toxic sensei, all right, which I think is a good subject, and I think many people in martial arts have experienced it. And I think we should talk about some things so we can prevent becoming one of those toxic senseis and recognize what a toxic sensei is. And if he is toxic, how important it is for you to get out of that situation, all right? Again, I hope you're enjoying it. Click the like, subscribe, share button. We have merchandise that's available. You can see at the bottom. And if you're interested in seminars, Zoom classes, okay, there'll be Master Chen Zhonghua. I'll be doing a push hand seminar out here at my Arizona school in July. I'll be posting more info up on that as we have more info on it. All right. And take care.